Good morning. I'm Ryan Klumpner, Vice Chair of San Diego Housing Commission Board of Commissioners. The time is 9:04 on July 18th, 2025. I'm calling to order today's regular meeting of the board. We're meeting in person this morning with commissioners, staff, members of the public in attendance. We have a quorum with 5 commissioners present. Video of today's meeting is also being streamed live online. The link to watch today's meeting is on the Housing Commission's website at www.sdhc.org. To accommodate additional members of the public who may wish to participate in today's meeting, we have set up an overflow room down the hall. The live streaming video of today's meeting will be shown in the overflow room. Speaker slips are available in the overflow room for members of the public who wish to provide comments to the board today. Our staff will bring those speaker slips to me here in the boardroom. At the appropriate time, our staff will also escort speakers from the overflow room to make sure that they are able to provide their comments to the board in person today. Members of the public here in the boardroom or in the overflow room who wish to provide comments to the board will need to complete a speaker slip. In the boardroom, please submit your speaker slip to our Director of Communications, Susie Kaywood, who is standing at the side of the room. In the overflow room, submit your speaker slips to our communications staff in the room. On Monday, a revised agenda for today's meeting was posted and distributed publicly. The agenda was revised by removing an item about our admissions and continued occupancy policy for public housing. It will not be heard today. That item will be presented to the board for consideration at a future meeting. To speak in favor of any item on today's agenda, please submit the gold speaker slip. To speak in opposition to any agenda item, please submit the pink speaker slip. Those who wish to address the board about a topic that is not on the agenda should fill out a white speaker slip. In a moment, I will be proposing that agenda items 100, 101, and 102 be placed on a consent agenda for today's meeting. Members of the public may provide comments about the items on the consent agenda by submitting a speaker slip for that item before the board considers the consent agenda. Members of the public will have 3 minutes each to provide their comments about agenda items or non-agenda public comments. However, if a large number of people wish to provide non-agenda public comments or speak on a single agenda item, comments will be limited to 1 minute each. Collective testimony by those who support or oppose an item shall be limited to no more than 15 minutes total per side. When I call your name, please step to the podium, state your name for the record, and begin making your comments. Now is the time for non-agenda public comments. We have 2 slips. We will begin with Joy.
So much. Good morning, everyone. I have 6 items. Some of them are short. We're going to start with about the rose. When my full tank inside of me is close to empty, I bring Mother Nature with me when I am going to a government meeting, and my tank inside of me fills quickly, and guess what? It's free. Thank you. Okay, number 2. With August recess next month, can anyone give me an update on the progress of the San Diego Housing Commission new strategic plan? It's ended last year, and we're halfway through 25. How are we holding it together? I guess it's because it's the people. But I would like an update, even if it's 1 sentence, Vice Chair. Okay. Number 3, please do not support upcoming new water rates, and especially do not support the pass-through, which is 15% over some years. Thank you so much for that. President Jones, hope you're listening, is the resilient program you spoke of a reality? Because I heard you speak of it at the updated City Council, and I've been on it for a long time now. I don't know if I misunderstood you, but I thought you were going to integrate it into the Housing Commission as we go through these challenging times. So I'd like to hear from you, President Jones, on if I can understand your position on the resilience program. Number 5, Commissioner Cushman, I want to thank you again for speaking of the Regional Task Force on Homelessness, RTFH. Very successful pilot program on prevention and diversion strategies. 2 gems that I got out of it. I keep reading it. I just love it so much. And number 1, it involves philanthropic funds. Is that fabulous? And Commissioner Cushman has promised to really teach all of us about how to get those philanthropic monies. Thank you. And number 2 on my gems are cost-effective alternative to sheltering. So I love that so much. So at City Council meeting and at the docket briefing meeting, I suggested they include this beautiful pilot program. Can I have another minute, please? Vice Chair? Okay, thank you. So at City Council meeting, I suggested they include it in the HAP, round 6 of HAP application, because RTFH, the county and the city, are required to participate on the same application per new state rules. So that just like 4 more sentences that could foster more collaboration and coordination in our housing crisis. So I'll skip that last part. It's just personal and no biggie. So thank you very much for the extra time, and it's going to be a great day. Love to all.
Thank you. We have one more non-agenda public comment from Carlos.
Good morning, esteemed members of the San Diego Housing Commission. My name is Carlos Padial III, and I want to take a moment to express my deep appreciation for this wonderful city that I've called home since 2007. San Diego has always held a special place in my heart, and I have witnessed firsthand the efforts of our community to address homelessness and support those in need. For the past 8 years, I've dedicated myself to running a nonprofit organization called the Lids of Encouragement and the Army of Saints, focused on uniquely encouraging individuals facing challenges in their life. Our mission has always been to uplift those in need and find innovative solutions to better serve our community. Today, I'm here to share my desire to collaborate with the Housing Commission on future projects and ideas that I believe can make a significant impact. Specifically, I would love to discuss solutions for the Homeless Resource Center at the new downtown library. I'm eager to brainstorm and implement initiatives that could enhance the pedestrian experience in downtown San Diego, an area that many of us hold dear, but which can often feel daunting. To that end, I've applied for positions within the Housing Commission several times, but I've not yet had the opportunity to interview. While I'm uncertain where the process may have faltered, my commitment to work with collaboratively with the Commission remains unwavering. I stand before you today as a concerned citizen and active community member seeking to build stronger connections with all of you. It's vital that we address the realities facing our downtown area, and I believe that we can create positive change when we work together. I sincerely appreciate your guidance on whom I might best contact to arrange a meeting where I can share my ideas and collaborate on future projects. Together we can enhance the well-being of our community, ensuring that everyone feels safe and supported in our beloved San Diego. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to the opportunity to work alongside the Housing Commission.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Carlos. And we have staff here who can handle any follow-up with you, so thank you. I'm going to go slightly out of order on our agenda here, and we're going to start with the President and CEO's comments. Lisa couldn't make it today, so Jeff will be providing this report.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Ryan indicated, Lisa is in New York today for the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials Summer Conference. As she has shared before, our participation with national organizations like NARO is valuable, especially in this unique time as federal funding levels for programs are being hotly debated. We continue to closely monitor legislative activity in Washington related to the federal budget and appropriations, and to join our industry partners in advocating and education efforts about the crucial importance of our programs, both locally and across the country. Recent federal legislation and our advocacy are among the updates I will be sharing with you this morning. Before I begin those updates, we wanted to let you know that we are in the process of finalizing our next strategic plan. We plan to bring that to you for consideration at your September 12th board meeting. Also, Vice Chair Klumpner mentioned that our revised agenda for today's meeting removed an item about updates to our admissions and continued occupancy policy. That item included 2 updates to our current policy. One of those updates related to the pet policy that we have at our 189 public housing apartment units. That proposed change would apply only to pets, not to service or support animals. We have become aware that incorrect information was shared by someone on social media about our policy and what changes we were proposing. It is unfortunate that this carelessness misinformed some members of the public about our policy and caused them anxiety, so we want to clear that up this morning. The proposed update was simply to remove language that currently states that only 1 of 2 allowable pets per unit could be a dog. The new policy would have allowed for both pets to be a dog. The policy change would have given tenants more flexibility, not less. It's important to note that service and support animals, animals that are deemed necessary by a medical professional, do not count as pets. Our policy clearly states that service animals and support animals are not pets and are not subject to the pet policy. We were never considering and were not proposing any limitations on service and support animals, and to suggest otherwise is a falsehood. We removed the item from today's agenda while we review additional flexibilities that we may decide to add to our policies at our public housing properties, and we're going to present it to the board at an upcoming meeting likely in September. This morning we have an update for you about litigation filed more than 6 years ago against the Housing Commission. The case, San Diego Tenants Union versus the Housing Commission, involved issues related to the payment standards in our Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Rental Assistance Program. The payment standard is the dollar value for the voucher. It is the maximum amount that the housing voucher will pay toward the contract rent for an apartment or rental home, minus the applicable amount that the tenant pays, which is known as the tenant's rent portion. We have raised our payment standards every year for the past 8 years, including 2018, the year before the lawsuit was filed. There was no judgment in this case, and there was no finding against the Housing Commission. In July of 2022, the lawsuit against the Housing Commission was dismissed, and it cannot be refiled. However, early in 2023, the Superior Court awarded attorney's fees and costs totaling more than $1 million. The Housing Commission would have to pay that amount to the plaintiff's attorneys. Earlier this year, the State Appellate Court in San Diego affirmed the trial court's decision, and the State Supreme Court has declined to rehear the case. So we will be required to pay the attorney's fees awarded to the plaintiffs in this case, plus interest that is accrued while on appeal. I do want to reiterate that this case was dismissed without any kind of judgment against the Housing Commission regarding our payment standards. However, we are now in a position of having to pay the plaintiffs more than $1 million. The House of Representatives version of the proposed Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations Bill was released on Sunday and was considered in committee yesterday. It is generally consistent with what Lisa said at your meeting last month. You'll recall she said that we were hearing that federal appropriators were building the federal budget on the foundation of what the current budget looks like. They were not building it based on the administration's budget proposal. The appropriations bill reflects just that. It proposes federal funding at levels intended to maintain tenant-based rental assistance for more than 2 million households nationwide that currently receive it. However, it does not address existing funding shortfalls or the rising cost of housing and inflation and the effects that have on our rental assistance program. The bill includes proposed increases in funding for project-based rental assistance and homelessness grants. However, the bill does reduce funding for the cost to administer the rental assistance program and the public housing program. It also does not provide any funding in FY 2026 for the Home Investment Partnership Program, which is a very important funding source for affordable housing development. The appropriations bill is better than we expected, but there still are areas of concern. And it still must go through the legislative process, which may result in further changes, either in the House or the Senate. And a continuing resolution instead of a federal budget also remains a possibility. On a separate note, on the 4th of July, the President signed into law the legislation known as One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Several provisions of this law will affect families that we serve. However, the law does not have any direct impact on our housing and homelessness programs or the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development programs. The National Low Income Housing Coalition noted in its analysis that the complicated rules for the reconciliation process that Congress used for this bill meant that HUD housing assistance was not impacted. The bill did not, or I should say the bill did include an expansion of low-income housing tax credits that support affordable housing development. This includes a 12% increase in the allocation to states for 9% tax credits. And for projects financed with 4% tax credits, the legislation requires 25% of financing to be from multifamily housing revenue bonds instead of the current 50%. So this applies to bonds issued before 2030. And the bill also establishes permanent policy for opportunity zones. These are census tracts that historically have experienced underinvestment for many years. There are several opportunity zones here in San Diego, and that designation offers an increase in investment in these areas by providing preferential treatment in terms of taxes. We are preparing to advocate at the state for opportunity zone designations that align with the city's housing production goals. The families we serve are likely to experience impacts from the federal legislation's provisions about other non-housing programs. The new law includes funding cuts for Medicaid and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is sometimes referred to as food stamps. This is very concerning for the families that we serve who may be impacted by these cuts and to the future of the state budget. If the state has to take action to attempt to bridge some of the gaps, future funding for other discretionary activities such as affordable housing development and addressing homelessness could very well be impacted. The federal budget is separate from this recently approved federal legislation, and we continue to engage with federal lawmakers and national groups. Our advocacy has included the publication of an opinion piece in the San Diego Union Tribune on June 26. In this piece, Lisa made the case for Congress to act now to protect our vulnerable neighbors and communities across the country by fully funding the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Rental Assistance Program. She described two crises that could occur if federal rental assistance funding is cut. One is that many families with low income who depend on rental assistance would experience housing instability and could become homeless. And the second is a potential mortgage crisis for mom and pop landlords who rent to the Housing Choice Voucher families and may struggle to pay their mortgages if they are not receiving the rental assistance payments for that the Housing Commission would administer. So if you haven't had the opportunity to read it, we encourage you to do so. As we continue to identify ways to reduce expenses, we received some good news this month from San Diego Gas and Electric. They have approved our application for two of our properties, Kearney Vista and Valley Vista, to receive discounts on gas and electricity costs through the California Alternative Rates and Energy, or CARE program. The program will provide a 30% discount on our energy costs at these properties. That's a savings of about $34,000 per month at Valley Vista and $29,000 per month at Valley Vista. The CARE program provides energy discounts for households with low income. Last year, we sponsored Assembly Bill 2672, which extended that program's eligibility for discounts to master metered properties that serve state home key funds. The state awarded home key funds to the Housing Commission for both of those properties, and as you may recall, they provided 332 affordable housing units with supportive services for people who experienced homelessness. The Housing Commission pays all the utilities at these properties. We have also submitted applications for our Presidio Palms property, which consists of 161 units for people who experienced homelessness. Extending CARE discounts to home key funded properties was an idea that Chair Mitchell proposed, and we want to specifically thank him for leading, engaging, and advocating for this expansion of the CARE program. It's going to make a great difference at these two properties. We also have an update this morning about the state budget adopted at the end of June. It did not include any changes to previous budget proposals, so there was no state funding increases for existing housing programs. The funding amounts for a few programs are shown on this slide. The approval of the budget also came with the approval of additional housing legislation. One of the more significant law reforms was the California Environmental Quality Act, to encourage more housing development throughout the state. Urban infill developments are now exempt from CEQA. The state is also expanding efforts to provide for faster permitting and approvals for housing. And the renter's tax credit will double to up to $500 for qualified tax filers. We continue to work with our state consultant, state lawmakers, and state housing organizations to engage on a variety of legislation that may impact our programs and the people that we serve. And finally, we held a Take Our Children to Work Day event here at our offices on July 12th. This was an opportunity for our staff to bring their kids, their grandkids, nieces, nephews, or other relatives to work and learn more about what we do. The national event typically occurs in April, but we scheduled ours to occur during the summer month when most local school districts are on break to make it possible for more kids to participate. Including our staff and the children who came with them, more than 100 people participated. The day included a mock board meeting where the kids asked some really great questions. It was a lot of fun. Some of their questions were, do you have snacks? How many buildings does the Housing Commission own? What do you do, and what can I do to help the homeless? We also asked the kids some questions about the Housing Commission based on the information that we shared with them that day. This was our first observance of Take Our Children to Work Day since the COVID pandemic. We had a great time, and we look forward to continuing this activity. That concludes my presentation. Thank you, Chair.
We do have snacks. And I think it was very smart to have a mock board meeting, because I'm not sure how we would keep a bunch of kids entertained for this board meeting. Thank you, Jeff. I also want to thank Chair Mitchell, who's not here today. That was the first I had heard about the conclusion of the CARE program, and I think combined savings of $62,000 a month means that Chair Mitchell has definitely earned his keep as a board member. So well done. Now we're going to move on to the commissioner comments, but I would like to ask my fellow commissioners to let me make my comment first, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you, Jeff, for that update. First, I'd like to say that it is not lost on this board or any of the executive leadership how unfortunate it is when resources intended to benefit the people we serve the families on the Section 8 wait list, residents living in properties we own, unhoused members of our community waiting for a shelter bed to become available. When those resources get diverted to attorneys instead, we understand the implications of that. What makes this especially hard to stomach is that the substance of the case itself was dismissed years ago. I'm additionally concerned about the impact this case may have on other jurisdictions. It seems to open the door for serial litigants to pursue cases that have no hope of prevailing at trial, but are intended to collect fee awards based on the strategy of preempting foreseeable policy changes that are made by those agencies. I also think I speak for the rest of my colleagues on this board when I say that we are all deeply committed to hardening our legal defenses and making any changes we need to make to the organization to safeguard these critical resources from predatory attorneys. Second, this issue relates directly to the pet policy that was on our agenda. As Jeff Davis mentioned, this policy created additional flexibilities for our tenants. It allowed them to keep more and different types of pets than the existing policy allowed, and it did not apply to service animals. Unfortunately, one of the attorneys involved in the previous cases that we have mentioned has focused in on this policy. Given our history with these particular serial litigants, anything they take an interest in now requires additional review to protect the agency from further litigation costs, which we cannot afford and comes at the direct expense of our residents. I know my colleagues are aware of my love for animals and deep involvement in dog rescue, or most of my colleagues, I think. I've fostered over 50 dogs from local shelters over the past decade, and I've been an advocate at the state and local level for more flexibility for pets as it relates to tenant protections. That's why I reached out directly to this attorney and offered to speak with him about this policy earlier this week. I never heard back. This is because I don't think he is interested in any sort of public benefit, but rather steering funds away from our residents into his own pocket. So it is deeply disappointing to me that these changes will not be taken up today, but my highest priority is protecting the resources that thousands of families are counting on us to administer responsibly. So if we need to take additional time, we will take additional time. That's all I have to say this week, although I will turn back to Casey, but I'm going to I'm going to ask my commissioners if they have anything that they would like to add before we switch topics. Commissioner Cushman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I second your earlier comments. As most of you know, I've served on a number of public boards, and these frivolous lawsuits happen in every board I've ever served on. They're business enhancement for attorneys. I don't see Mr. Peace or his associates here. It's unfortunate because I'd like them to hear my comments. But at the port and at the convention center, you're affecting people's livelihood and their jobs. So when we deal with those, it's a different situation than we sit here when we'll get a report in a couple of minutes that we only can help 11% of the people that need our help. And that's what really upsets me about $1 million fee that we have to pay for absolutely nothing. Many of you know I'm deeply involved with the food bank here. That $1 million would have put 2 million meals in front of people. 2 million meals could have gone to people. You just saw SNAP is being reduced. The food bank this year will be at a deficit because of the federal programs. So when you have business enhancement for some attorney taking $1 million, that's just beyond belief to me. To house people, it's 5,000 room nights that we could have put people in hotels or in some kind of shelter to get them off of the streets that we could have used that money for, but we cannot now because we're sending it to these folks. Many of you know I just did a diversion program with Supervisor Tara Lawson-Reamer. That $1 million would have kept 440 people in their housing for a year. if we had that $1 million. So that's what upsets me, that it's enhancement for somebody's pockets, not helping people that need help. So that's why I support what the vice chair said, and I second what he said, but I add to it that we cannot allow government to, during these difficult times, to put up with people like this. So we will do a better job. We'll be more cautious. But at the end of the day, it's upsetting, and I think it just needs to be said on the record. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Cushman. It's been a while since I got emotional at this meeting. And of course, Chair Mitchell's out of town right when I have to address this issue, unintentional on his part. But I think Commissioner Cushman really put the true cost of this into perspective. And I hope that our adversaries who bring this legislation will think carefully, because there is certainly a role for public interest attorneys. Government agencies need accountability. If we had lost this lawsuit at trial, I think we would all have a very different response to this issue. But of all the agencies, corporations, nonprofits that an attorney could target for this strained catalyst theory of legal fees, this really ought to be the last one on the list, because these resources are too important to too many people. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on Commissioner Klempner and Cushman. I totally agree with what you said, and the fact that we're spending these funds on litigation that they know is not going to pass to begin with. They're not going to win it. It's just an attempt to take money out of the pockets and out of the mouths and sleepless nights from the homeless is what it boils down to. And it needs to stop. And I want to go on record as saying that also. Thank you.
I also want to go on record that this is a shameful act of extracting resources from a public agency that serves the needy. It's shameful. Thank you.
And I will concur with everything my fellow commissioners have said. It's just beyond me how we have to pay attorney fees. And that amount is just ridiculous, so it is a shame.
Thank you to all my commissioners, and with that in mind, we will now turn to Casey.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to provide a monthly update on the Coordinated Shelter Intake Program. In the month of June, we received 1,242 referrals for shelter. We were able to accommodate 233 for a 19% completion rate, one of the highest of the year. But to explain that, that was because we had to pause intakes in May to accommodate the closure of Rosecrans. And so once we had determined we had a place for each person at Rosecrans, we released the beds, which is more than we would normally have on any given day. So that's why we had a higher completion rate. But nonetheless, more people were placed this month. And just as a reminder, intakes resumed on June 12th for safe sleeping and June 23rd for the single adult shelters. So number one reason, again, no male beds, no top male beds. Number two, no male bottom beds. And then number three were no female bottom beds. What I want to spend a little more time talking about today is, since June is the last month of the year, I can give you some updates just overall on what happened over the entire year of fiscal year 25. We received 24,389 referrals this year. 2,820 placements were completed, or 12% on the year. Number one reason being 54% weren't accommodated because there was no male beds, and then 25% because there were no female beds. When you kind of look at 25 compared to 24, where we had a 19% completion rate. That's concerning. So in FY24, the entire year we completed 19%. This year we only completed 12%. And just as a reminder, I'm sure we haven't forgotten, but it feels like a lot happened this year. We had the closure of Golden Hall, which was 324 beds, PMC, which was 350 beds, and then we had to suspend intakes at BBSD, Rachel's Promise, the LGBTQ plus shelter from March to June to prepare for the closure of Rosecrans, which will conclude on July 25th, which is another loss of 150 beds. So that's the reason we have such a decrease, obviously. But I also want to point out between 24 and 25 that our referrals increased by 15%. So that's another important thing. In a year where we lost a lot of beds, we saw the need increase by 15% over the year. Sorry, it's not better news.
Thank you very much for the update. I have one question as it relates to the wind down of the Midway shelter. I want to thank you all. I know that anytime we're closing a shelter down, there's sort of a challenging logistical question of how we do so humanely, because we're always trying to avoid taking somebody who has made it into shelter and sending them back to the street. And unfortunately, that also comes with the trade-off of we don't have new people coming in. So the wind down was stretched out, and that's why we paused, so that we had the most places to transfer those people. I believe that the city allocated $500,000 for this wind down, and we didn't have at the time like an exact idea of how long. And so, but I think we're ahead of schedule on this. Do we? Yeah.
We are. So we actually decided yesterday, we didn't decide yesterday. The communication went out yesterday that we will close officially on July 25th. And the reason that determination was made is because we are down to 16 persons. So the team has worked very hard to make sure everybody had a place to go. So everybody was offered shelter or alternative housing. And the 16 folks that remain have already been offered these resources, and we continue to hold 16 beds for them, but it will be their choice if they want to go to the alternative resources or destinations. So the shelter itself will close on July 25th, and then we'll begin the physical decommissioning of the site. We didn't want the two activities to take place at the same time. It was just too much stress on the staff and folks. Unfortunately, that means there's a lot of folks that will be losing their positions or transitioning, hopefully, to other positions that are available. But we have until August 31st. That's what the funding will allow. Likely we wouldn't spend the entire amount of money, but it was nice to have it just in case we weren't, there was a higher number of folks that weren't able to be placed, so we do appreciate that extension. But we'll be on time and have the whole site closed by August 31st, if not sooner.
Thank you. And I agree with you. I'd rather we be under budget than over budget, always. Yes. And when we are, it's so rare that we're potentially under budget on something. So if we are under budget there, those remaining funds will remain in our homelessness ecosystem.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments? If not, next is the approval of the minutes for the June 20th, 2025 regular meeting of the board. No speaker slips. Excuse me one moment here. I'm trying to figure out which item some of these are on. No speaker slips have been submitted regarding the minutes. Do any commissioners have any changes to the minutes, or do we have a motion? We have a motion by Commissioner Jackson.
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Hester to approve the minutes from the June 20th board meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion carries unanimously. As I said at the start of today's meeting, I'm proposing that the following items be placed on a consent agenda for today. Item 100, contract for parking management services at the Housing Commission's headquarters office building at 1122 Broadway. Item 101, the approval of the revised fiscal year 2026 Section 8 Housing Choice Administrative Plan. And and which actually, I believe that we have some speakers. If you would like to speak on the administrative plan and you're here, can you raise your hand? Okay, we will go to speaker slips. Excuse me, apologies for the confusion here. I'm trying to reconcile the topics of the speakers with the agenda item number. So I think we have figured this out. We're going to start with Gil. Gil, if you are here. Glad we didn't miss you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. My name is Gil Vera. I'm a Deputy Director at Legal Aid Society San Diego. Legal Aid is the recipient of the Eviction Prevention Program funded by the City of San Diego and administered by the San Diego Housing Commission. The EPP provides free legal services, emergency rental assistance, case management services, and outreach and education to low-income San Diegans. As a whole, we are supportive for the proposed changes to the admin plan and are thankful that the board is proactively addressing the end of the EHV voucher program, that the funds are expected to end in fall of 2026. However, we do have some suggestions to help ensure housing stabilizations for these 460 plus households exiting the EHV program. First, we would recommend that placing survivors of domestic violence under the preference category number 1 for the categories created to provide housing choice vouchers and project-based vouchers to these households. For one, the EHV program was originally meant to help survivors of domestic violence, so you're probably going to have a higher proportion of domestic violence survivors on EHV vouchers. Also, studies and data have shown that survivors of domestic violence, when their housing is at risk, can return to their abuser or find themselves in another domestic violence situation, which not only impacts the well-being of the survivor, but potentially even minor children if they are present in the household. Second, we would recommend providing more, and this may come later, but providing more details about the project-based voucher lottery, such as like when is the lottery going to occur? Is it going to be on a rolling basis as units become available? And will lottery winners be able to select buildings or locations? These project-based vouchers are tied to units that are located throughout the city, and some units are for elderly, some are for families. So there wasn't detail in the plan that might come later, like I mentioned. And lastly, it wasn't clear whether EHV vouchers would be given the option of choosing housing choice or project-based. And how that, and whether they'd be explained the pros and cons of each of those housing subsidy programs when they are able to elect to make a choice. Lastly, and again, this might be coming later, we would strongly recommend significant efforts we put on outreach and education for the impacted community members, being informed of the end of this program as well as what's being done to wind down and move, essentially what you're doing today to make changes to the admin plan to give them preference. And LASSD would be happy to assist the San Diego Housing Commission in education and outreach efforts done to inform this community. Thank you for your time and for everything you do.
Thank you very much. I know that there was a lot of note-taking as you were speaking, and we appreciate the work that you all do on a daily basis, and that feedback is very important and valuable, and we will continue to stay in touch. Thank you. Next, Rosanna.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. My name is Rosanna Kendrick Sanders, and I'm a supervising attorney at Legal Aid Society of San Diego. I'm here to advocate, along with Gil, for clarifications in the proposed revisions to the Housing Commission's admin plan. The plan revisions explain EHV applicants will be served by date and time of application. However, it is not clear what is meant by application. So whether EHV tenants will need to reapply or if they will be automatically enrolled for the waitlist preference and lottery based on the time of their original EHV application or some other date and time. We believe requiring reapplication would create an undue burden on EHV tenants and cost the Housing Commission unnecessary time and money. We also recommend clarity be provided regarding the start date of the EHV preference. We need confirmation if the preference takes effect immediately upon approval of the administrative plan or on some other date. Despite the planned revisions, there is simply no guarantee how many openings will become available through these other voucher programs, and we encourage the Commission to prioritize additional options that there might be, as well as funding. As noted in the summary, EHV assistance allowed tenants to rent units with a higher payment standard than the general HCV voucher. So transition to other rental programs will pose significant challenges for tenants. We recommend EHV tenants be provided housing navigation services as well as access to security deposit programs. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm going to add one more comment for both of you, which is, can Frances raise her hand in the back? Okay. Frances is going to talk to you because I think that we would like to have, outside of the 3-minute public comment context, I think that we'd like to have an ongoing staff relationship with you so that we're gathering input based on the work that you're doing into these policies as they're developed. Because as much as we appreciate the feedback today, I think we want to proactively make sure that we're getting as much of this as possible on the front end of these policies. So Frances is going to connect with both of you, and hopefully we'll have a recurring meeting going on in the future to make sure that your feedback is being built into our policies. Thank you both.
Thank you. I wanted to also just make sure that we're reporting out on it, because what I heard you say is so important and critical. Assistance in housing navigation program. Like, I can just imagine the tendency. So I really am interested in making sure that we are incorporating this, and thank you for the nod, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Hester. Next, Joy, speaking on item 101. Very helpful, Joy, that when you put your item number on it, it makes the chair's job easy.
That's, we can thank Mr. Marshall for that. He's great. Joy Sunyata, District 3. Wow, 276 pages. I didn't even have time to make a dent in that. It's been a busy week. I really am sad this is on consent, but at the same time, how do you give a presentation on 276 pages that the public can really put their arms around and understand? So I get it, but this is critical. This is, how do we present the public? How do we help the public? How do we support the public, especially our beloved tenants that are in our housing programs now with all these changes? I mean, I read the executive summary, and that in itself was a lot to take in. So I just want to make sure I ask you that. That's why I was asking President Jones about the resilience program, because I don't feel this is happening with the Housing Commission yet, but it's new. What are we going to really do? And this includes your employees too. What are we really going to do to help people face this future that is coming, especially in the housing sector? It's not happening yet. It's not happening in the masses. It's not happening locally. It's just not happening. I guess we're afraid of it. But we can't be afraid. We have to be resilient and doing the best we can. So I will be looking at this report later, but it's a huge report. Thank you so much. And let's just keep on sticking together. Thank you.
I'm going to add another comment here. I try to just let the public comments just come, but you all raised such good points. So I want to clarify for Joy and anybody else, because I think this needs some clarification. Item 101, the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, the 260-plus pages. That was heard 2 months ago, and we had a full presentation on it. What is on the agenda today, we have to approve the entire plan again, but the only change that's being made is to the EHV recipients, that they get preferential treatment for the Section 8 vouchers. So while it's a 260-page administrative plan, we had a full presentation on that 260 pages, and this one change that is being made because circumstances changed since we approved it, that's the only thing that is different now, but the entire plan had to go on the agenda anyways. So hopefully that makes it clear. Thank you, Joy. And I'm going to let Jeff add further clarification.
Sorry, I just need to make one clarification. So the change is that EHV voucher holders will receive preference for upcoming vacant project-based vouchers, not for all vouchers, not for tenant-based vouchers.
Thank you for that clarification. Natalie, I think also speaking on the same item, and hopefully that clarified.
Natalie Rashke. I've never been to one of these board meetings. I don't know why, but I feel like I came on a good day. I am a recipient of an EHV. I didn't want to come up here and get emotional, but it is emotional. It takes a couple years from being on the streets, then getting into housing to feel, I don't want to say normal, but like you can regularly do the things that you did before you became homeless. So when we're doing this, it's like reliving a traumatic experience. I guess I'm just up here to inform people who may not know, or people that don't get to come here and speak, and so I've made it my priority to do that as much as I can. So people can see a face. I have 4 children, so people can see a face that these are people that go on and have my husband, we have jobs. And what it does to my husband, when you're a man that has a family and you're on the streets, it literally, I don't think that's talked about very much, and he doesn't want to come and talk about it. What that does to a man emotionally, mentally, and how it affects their everything, their mental stability. So it's frustrating when we do see people out there and they're behaving in a way that's, people talk about, that's negative. It's they revert back to like children. And so at least they're being seen, maybe in a negative way, but somebody's paying attention. And I just heard what you said about the emergency. That makes me feel a little better, because when you would have to explain that to your children, that's rough. That's rough. And especially when it wasn't something that we necessarily did. COVID really hurt a lot of people, and we're still trying to climb back from it. I was in the hospitality industry, and so was my husband. I had a 401k. I had all those things. We had 2 cars, a motorcycle, and then just kept dwindling and dwindling. So I try to come and speak and, put a face to real people, because people don't get to come here and speak, or, don't want to show their face. So, and with the dog, that's one of the only things that can ground a person besides earthing, by putting your feet on the ground. I don't know if that was brought up, when speaking on whatever that happened. It is literally scientifically proven that hugging a dog or petting a dog can ground somebody internally. Thank you.
Natalie, thank you very much. And I want to remind everyone, we've, for a couple meetings now, been addressing the EHV program because none of us expected thought it would end, certainly did not want it to end on the timeline that it is ending. And I wish that the people who made those decisions had to speak with people who were actually receiving that assistance the way that we interact with you. And so I really appreciate you showing up. I also want to say that, we take the privacy of our residents very, very seriously, and I've learned this the hard way sometimes when I'd like to get in touch with somebody and I have no way to do it. So I would like to speak with you, and I think the rest of the board would like the ability to speak with you privately. So if you would like to, you can provide your information to Susie, and then she can share that with us so that we know how to get in touch with you. But thank you for providing a real-life example that we don't always have in the room with us about who is receiving this assistance, what it means to them, and the choices that we're all having to deal with to address the end of that program. So thank you. Commissioner.
Natalie, thank you for that testimony. I find it the most compelling when you describe the dwindling scenario, right? Like, we think we're good, and then it dwindles down. And I want us to keep that in mind, that it is, people are not opting, right? And it is the childlike, and you go back and you revert to that feeling. And so people then are branded as, crazy, losing their mind, that sort of thing. But I'd like for any one of us to sleep in the street and see if we don't lose our damn mind too. So thank you, Natalie. Please come back again.
I'm going to try to pick up exactly where I left off. And item 102, approval of the contract amendment between the Housing Commission and people assisting the homeless to operate the Connections Housing Interim Shelter Program. We have now heard all public comment. If I or any of us somehow missed and you wanted to speak on item 100, 101, or 102, can you raise your hand? Joy, I see, item 102. Okay, before I move from consent, Joy.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you. Yes, I approve the contract, amending the contract with PATH to operate the interim shelter. I had a question here. I hope I can say it well. How long will the ESG federal funding last? And what about city's general fund? PATH has faced fiscal constraints. That surprised me. Well, it did and it didn't. I mean, who isn't among us facing some sort of physical constraints these days? So, but that's scary that at that level, they are also facing constraints. So that affects its ability to sustain operating expenses that exceed the funding the program has received from the city in previous fiscal years. So love PATH. When I moved here to San Diego, I met this beautiful couple that were homeless. The wife was in a wheelchair, and they're the first ones that spoke to me about housing and help for the homeless, and it involved PATH. And PATH helped these two people in an amazingly beautiful way. So I love PATH, and thank you so much for the time to speak on it.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
Yes.
It was my understanding the orders of the day were 100, 101, and 102 you want to do on consent. We're now moving to 103. Do we not need to approve?
We are not moving to 103 yet.
Joy was just speaking on PATH, which is 103.
Yes, I have. I have a slip that has 102 and PATH written on it, so we're gonna give you an additional chance, Joy, to say more if you'd like, because that was the comment for the consent.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion from any commissioners to adopt the consent agenda?
Yes, I do, but there's a question.
I think I need to speak. Vice Chair, What's happening? I'm losing
You and me
contact
both.
with how the meeting is flowing.
No, he's fine, he's fine.
Yeah, we're going to approve the consent agenda, which has items 100, 101, and 102.
But you called them consent.
Excuse me?
We're
We're going to approve those 3 items all at once right now.
Okay, which items are on consent, Vice Chair?
100, 101, and 102.
Okay, so how did I end up here on 103?
I'm not sure. It's okay.
We love you so
We're
much,
good.
Joy, we let you speak twice.
We're good.
You'll have another opportunity.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Hester.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Cushman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
And Mr. Vice Chair, I would ask as a Senate to keep us up to speed on 102.
Yes.
This is a huge item, and so, if she brought us, if she
Yes.
sent us a note every week, it'd be all right with me.
Yeah.
As this big ugly bill continues to do whatever the heck it's gonna do, we need to know
I
it.
think all of our team following this, yes, I agree with you as well.
Thank you.
The item carries unanimously. The next is item 103, the authorization to enter into the First Amendment to the second amended restated lease and require the completion of the minimum capital improvements for the redevelopment of Mariners Cove at 4392 West Point Loma Boulevard. And after reading the title of that item,
Okay, Mr.
now we understand why the children were not brought to a real board meeting. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Vice President of Multifamily Housing and Finance.
Mr. Chairman.
Jennifer
Mr. Vice
Blair.
Chair.
Yes.
Let's do 103, then go to 104.
I'm on 103.
Well, 103, at least in my packet, is path. Oh, well, this is what I received. Okay. So now I'm lost. So what about path? Where is path? What is its number?
102.
102.
Is that correct?
Yeah, approval of.
Okay.
So, Joy, you did speak on the correct item. You're good. You're good.
Vice Chair. Now,
Okay, we're cool.
take a deep breath because this is not right.
Okay.
This is not right the way this meeting is flowing, and I mean that sincerely. Now, this is really bumpy and this doesn't feel good.
Yes,
So if 102 was on consent, was it?
yes. Yes. Three
Okay.
times I read out consensus.
And let me
yes.
just tell the public now and all of you that with the revision, when I sat down last night to do my homework, and I noticed the revision word, thank God, and I really struggled because I had already written my agenda out to adjust all those numbers.
I'm going to take up your next speaker slip in a moment here.
But take a deep breath, would you? Because this doesn't feel good.
Joy, I'm going to have to ask you to sit down for a moment, and we're going to come back to your speaker slip in a moment. We do need, I understand, this doesn't feel good for me either. We need to keep the meeting moving. I'm sorry that there's misunderstanding about the item numbers. I think part of this has to do with the change that we discussed at the beginning where we pulled an item off the agenda, and some folks are looking at an agenda that has different numbers. Every item today is being heard, and we are going to have public input and commissioner comments on everything, including the consent agenda that was just passed, which we spent a significant amount of time discussing the items that were just approved on consent. We do need to keep the meeting moving here. We are on item 103. As I read out our 5-line title for this, which is related to Mariners Cove. We are now speaking on the Mariners Cove item. Is everybody, public, commissioners, staff, are we all clear? We're moving on. We're moving on. Okay. Okay.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you. We will take up public comment on this item after the staff presentation. Hopefully that will clarify what we are all commenting on. Jennifer, please begin when you're ready.
All right. Good morning, Vice Chair Klumpner and Commissioners. The item before you today is a request to enter into a First Amendment to the Second Amended and Restated Lease and require the completion of the minimum capital improvements per the lease at Mariners Cove. Mariners Cove is a 500-unit property with 100 units being restricted to 80% area median income, 200 units at 120%, and the remaining 200 units at market. The property is located at 4392 West Point Loma Boulevard in Council District 2. The Housing Authority owns the land and ground leases to Air Communities, the lessee. To provide background, in 2015, the Housing Authority approved a ground lease extension through 2070 with an additional 20-year renewal option. The ground lease required the lessee to expend $25 million in capital improvements by July 2021. The lessee began its required improvements and ended up expending $4.1 million. In 2020, the lessee paused the capital improvements and approached Housing Commission staff with a concept to increase the number of units from 500 to 772. Because the proposal would have included demolition and reconstruction, the requirement to expend the remainder of the $25 million was extended. For the next 2 years, the parties negotiated a letter of intent and engaged third-party financial consultants to determine feasibility of the proposed development. In May 2022, Housing Commission staff presented the LOI to the Housing Commission Board, and then negotiations continued through 2023 and 2024. In spring 2024, Housing Commission staff re-engaged a third-party financial consultant to determine financial feasibility, which was deemed infeasible. By late 2024, Housing Commission staff informed the lessee that due to lack of agreement on the proposal and financial infeasibility, Housing Commission staff would present to Housing Commission Board ceasing negotiations and requiring the recommencement of the required capital improvements. If the actions are approved today, the remaining $20.9 million in capital improvements would commence in 6 months and must be completed within 3 years of recordation of the First Amendment. Key points of the First Amendment include capital improvements to building exteriors, landscaping, community rooms, and unit interiors. Additionally, tenant relocation will be provided for units being renovated. Staff recommends that the board take actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. This concludes the presentation. A representative from the developer and I are available to answer questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a speaker slip from Joy for item 103.
Thank you, and I apologize, Vice Chair. Thank you for listening to me, and I appreciate it so much. Okay, 103, lease amendments to involving Mariner Cove. With the HCD approving the were involved in the transaction on July 12th of 2022. That was 2-3 years ago. I just wondered on the provision, which, that involved the SLA, the Surplus Land Act. I just wondered if there were any changes done with the SLA in those 2 to 3 years that elapsed since 2022. I'm sure that our council is on top of that. So this is really complicated. I had a little trouble with it. Question, these are just kind of, questions to look at. Will this be a bumpy road for the current tenants? And will we retain the PBVs, the project-based vouchers, so that it will be a win-win for the commission and the tenants? So thank you for listening, and appreciate the presentation. Love to all.
Thank you. None of us like making agenda changes for this reason, but is what it is. Next we have Joni.
I'm Joni Halpern from the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans. On behalf of the low-income individuals and families we serve, I wanted to tell you we're grateful for the willingness of Ms. Jones, Mr. Davis, Mr. Miller, and this commission to listen to and address the concerns of the low-income residents at Mariners Cove. We especially want to thank your staff for putting in the current plan for renovation the elements of oversight by SDHC that should protect residents from deep disruptions of their working and family lives, relocation expenses they can't afford, and unfair exclusions from residency at Mariners Cove when everything is done. We're happy to see your staff will be reviewing renovation expenditures, hopefully by requiring proof of billing and payment to subcontractors and vendors to ensure that what remains of the original $25 million is spent entirely on capital improvements. And we're also grateful that after renovation is complete, San Diego Housing Commission will still be the agency making sure that any new owner to whom the development is sold, transferred, or assigned has proper reserves to continue the upkeep of the complex for years to come. In this new era that we have entered in our country, it is likely that the tools that the San Diego Housing Commission and other housing authorities have used to address the dire need for affordable housing will be cut back even more, or in some cases abolished. The painful stories your staff and ours have heard from people who have no place to call home are becoming more numerous and more severe. So I leave you with this. There has never been a time when the dedication and service of your remarkable staff has been more needed. Never a time when decent people who seek not riches, but shelter, food, and care when they are sick have been more in need of your advocacy as an agency. It will now be apparent that every decision you make has the capability of breathing life into the embers of people's hope that they have not been abandoned.
Thank you very much, Joni. We have one more on this item, I believe. Dan?
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Dan Dorr, and I am here today on behalf of Air Communities, the proud operator of Mariners Cove Apartments. As you know, the AIMCO Air team provides quality apartment homes throughout the San Diego region, including the 500 apartments at Mariners Cove and another 1,400 apartment homes in the county. We appreciate the longstanding relationship with the San Diego Housing Commission and commend Lisa Jones and her excellent team for bringing this lease amendment forward today. AIR's mission is rooted in operating apartment communities where residents can build their lives and community in a respectful environment delivered by a team of people who care. As such, we are incredibly excited to bring additional investment to Mariners Cove. Thank you for your trust and partnership. Our continuing collaboration at Mariner Cove Apartments will provide much needed investment into affordable and accessible apartment homes, which will help meet the diverse housing needs of this community. My colleague, Barb Frommel, and I will be here to answer any questions you may have this morning, and we strongly support your staff's recommendation to move this project forward. Thank you.
What a nice treat to have both those speakers asking the same thing of us. Did I miss any speakers on this item? No. Okay. Commissioners. Commissioner Cushman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the appropriate movement on this project. This is the next phase. I'm going to move acceptance, but I would say to the developers that hopefully you don't look at this as the final development in this project. We all know that there's another couple hundred units that could and are sorely needed. So please don't forget about us as this moves on. But Mr. Vice Chair, I'd be happy to move acceptance of the staff report. Acceptance of the staff.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cushman. We have a second from Commissioner Jackson. Any other comments, questions? I will just add to your comment too, just to refresh everybody's memory here. This all began because there had been contemplated fairly large-scale redevelopment of the site that would have added a couple hundred new apartments. And I think everybody here is in complete agreement that, that is a nice goal for us all to have. We need those homes, both the affordable and we don't have enough of any type of housing. So certainly more affordable housing, but more housing of any type is still helpful. And during the years that this has been in discussion, the environment the economy, financial conditions shifted. We're not going to get those right now. So this is the next best thing. And I agree with Commissioner Cushman that I think we're all always thinking about how we get the most housing and the most affordable housing we can within the boundaries of this city. So to everybody who spent all these years in negotiations, we appreciate it, and I'm glad that we have a consensus outcome in front of us today. Certainly makes our job better. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion carries unanimously. Next is item 104, the preliminary bond authorization, Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, or TEFRA hearing, demolition and loan modification for Marcato Apartments. The TEFRA hearing on this item is now open. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Vice President Jennifer Kreuter and Director Michelle Muniz will be presenting this item. Please begin when you're ready.
All right, good morning again. The item before you today is a request to take the initial steps to issue up to $75 million in tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds and $5 million in taxable bonds, hold a TEFRA hearing, demolish existing units, as well as recast a prior loan in order to facilitate the construction of Marcato Apartments. Marcato Apartments is the proposed rehabilitation and construction of an existing 144-unit property, which is comprised of 142 affordable units and 2 unrestricted manager units. The project is located at 2001 Newton Avenue in the Barrio Logan neighborhood of San Diego in Council District 8. The project was originally constructed in 1994 and is affordable for households with income levels from 30 to 60% of area median income. The proposed development will take the existing 144 units, demolish 12 of them, 11 affordable and 1 manager unit, and then build back 92 units for a net increase of 80 units. The developer plans to rehabilitate the remaining 132 units. The proposed project's total units will increase to 224, of which 222 will be affordable. Relocation benefits will be provided for all tenants. The property also has a community room, computer room, laundry building, playground, and on-site daycare. The developer, MAC, is an experienced nonprofit developer and is in compliance with prior SDHC loans, which includes a loan from 1992 on this property. If approved today and the project is awarded an allocation of bonds, the term of the current loan will restart for a new 55-year term. MAC will also continue to be the service provider for Marcato Apartments. Services will include case management and health and wellness classes. This slide shows a site map of the development. The closest trolley station is less than a half a mile from the property, while the closest school and grocery store are both one-third mile away. The total development cost of the project will be just under $96 million, which equates to a per unit cost of approximately $428,000. Notable sources of funding include a bond finance permanent loan, a City of San Diego bridge to home loan, prior loans from the Housing Commission and City of San Diego, and capital contributions. Units will be restricted at 30 to 60% of the area median income for 55 years. Rent will range from $930 to $2,580 per month. Should this be approved today, the developer will apply for bonds and tax credits in September. Should the developer receive an award, we anticipate bringing this item back for final bond approvals in early 2026. The developer expects to close on construction financing and begin construction in March 2026 and complete construction in December 2027. Here's a current aerial view of the property. Here's the architect's rendering of the proposed development. You are considering approvals to take the preliminary steps to issue up to $75 million in tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds and up to $5 million in taxable bonds. Approval of the Bond Issuance and Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, TEFRA, resolution does not commit the Housing Authority to issue bonds. The bonds would not constitute a debt of the city. If bonds are ultimately issued for the project, the bonds will not financially obligate the city, the Housing Authority, or the Housing Commission because security for the repayment of the bonds will be limited to specific private revenue sources of the project. Neither the full faith and credit nor taxing power of the city, nor full faith and credit of the Housing Authority will be pledged to payment of the bonds. Staff recommends that the board take actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. This concludes the presentation. A representative from the developer and I are available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. We will begin with Oscar.
Good morning, members of the San Diego Housing Commission. It is both an honor and a privilege to address you today. My name is Oscar del Toro, and I have the pleasure of serving as the project manager at MAC for the Marcato proposal. Before I begin, I want to sincerely thank the Housing Commission team for your tireless work and dedication in supporting innovative, community-centered housing solutions across our city. Your leadership is helping reshape how we think about housing equity and opportunity in San Diego. The Marcato proposal is a thoughtfully designed development that reflects the heart and soul of Barrio Logan, a neighborhood with a deep history, rich culture, and an unwavering spirit. Marcato is envisioned not merely as a structure, but as a natural and respectful extension of the community around it. To bring that vision to life, we partnered with Martinez & Cutri, the architectural firm behind the Cesar Chavez Continuing Education Center, whose design philosophy aligns with our values of cultural integrity and community empowerment. Marcato holds special significance for MAC as we celebrate 60 years of service to San Diego communities in which transformative initiatives like the Youth Build program, MAC Community Charter School, and Marcato, our first real estate development, took root in initiatives born out of a deep, ongoing commitment to education, empowerment, and local investment. Importantly, Marcato is strategically located just a short walk from the Barrio Logan Transit Station, offering residents seamless access to the Metropolitan Transit System network. This proximity to public transit is not incidental. It is intentional. It reflects a larger transit-oriented vision that recognizes how access to affordable, reliable transportation plays a pivotal role in promoting economic mobility, environmental sustainability, and equitable urban design. The proximity of the trolley station allows us to responsibly design a community that prioritizes people. We are embracing a more forward-thinking, pedestrian, and transit-friendly lifestyle that aligns with San Diego's Climate Action Plan and the Commission's own goals of building sustainable, inclusive communities. At Marcato, residents will continue to receive MAC's wraparound services, including workforce training, educational programming, and financial coaching, placing our residents at the intersection of opportunity and support. We believe Marcato will be a catalyst for upward mobility, helping individuals and families build roots in a neighborhood they know and love. As we look ahead, this development will bring new homes to Barrio Logan, creating opportunities for our residents to live in dignified, affordable housing in a place that reflects their culture, identity, and aspirations. I respectfully urge your support for this transformative proposal. Marcato is more than housing. It is an investment in people, in place, and in the promise of a stronger, more connected Barrio Logan. Thank you for your time, your vision, and your ongoing commitment to housing that reflects the needs and values of San Diego's communities.
Thank you. Joy. I moved you to second place because I thought you might want to hear the first comment first.
Thank you, Jennifer, but you were good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was excellent. Okay, I'll be speaking on all three TEFRA items because as a public, I feel very obligated and I am honored to participate in these hearings, so just to give you a heads up. So on this one, 104, yes to the preliminary bond hearing, yes to the preliminary bond authorization for the Marcato Apartments. They are going to be wonderful, and lucky Council Member Marino is so happy. $75 million bonds. I do get nervous about the TBDs under the development team summary, especially the tax credit investor limited partners line item. So 224 housing units, yay. 30 to 60% AMI, yay. 55 years, yay. Cost per unit, about $428,000. Wow, that just thrills me. With new construction and also rehabilitation, not sure, excuse me on that, I'm not sure what I was doing. This was late last night. So Council District 8, 60, I love this thing that you put in there. Council District 8, 16% of the 28,468 affordable housing rental units in service in the citywide. I love that you're telling us that. So 16% is pretty darn good. So a question for the developer, and I'll finish. The developer is in the process of updating the Mercato's relocation plan. So my question is, who will monitor the results of the update? That's really critical to the tenants. Please take them under your wing and make sure that the relocation plan is great. Love to all.
Thank you. This concludes the public comment period for this item. Excuse me one moment. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. The TEFRA hearing is now closed. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or do we have a motion? Commissioner Cushman.
Question for Oscar. So as I sat on the Port Commission for many years, your tenants constantly came down to talk to us about air quality and their deep concerns. Has there been progress made in that neighborhood on air quality?
Great question. That is a challenge, absolutely. And as a developer, we are limited to the scope that we can provide. That is a question that has to really warrant the decision made by not just other jurisdictions, but other committees and other, I would have to say, parties involved. What we want to design and what we're proposing is a more transit-oriented design. So by us pushing a design that does have those parameters in mind, it does lower the production of vehicle emissions, and it does align with San Diego's climate action plan. So we are putting our foot forward in trying to curb the effects of what we're experiencing at Barrio Logan. But that is a conversation that should continue to be had, and with other organizations as well, so we could tackle it as a group together. Because it is an issue that needs to be resolved.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a comment if there's no other questions. Thank you so much, Oscar, for coming. That was a fantastic presentation. We don't often get that level of detail or passion. Usually there's maybe not even anyone here. We certainly appreciate it. I also want to commend you all on the transit-oriented approach you took. We had a reduced parking project also in Council District 8 last week. I said the same thing. I am going to express a concern. It is not about this project, but it is more about the whole picture of affordable housing. I'm always encouraged to see when reduced parking is being utilized, because those policies were created for all the reasons that you specified. And I think in addition to that, the fact that so many people have to choose between a home and a car, which we know we have safe parking lots all over the city now that are full all the time because people decided that maintaining ownership of their car was more critical to them than maintaining ownership or maintaining a lease or a roof over their head. And that needs to change because you should be able to survive without a car, and people can't survive without a roof over their head. So the more opportunities where that is being reflected in the values of the projects that we're approving, I think that's a step in the right direction. The concern that I have is that the only reduced parking projects we see tend to be concentrated in particular areas that have lots of affordable housing already, and I don't think I've ever seen one elsewhere. And the fact that you looked at the proximity to transit and embraced that, I know that there are plenty of people who will qualify for your project who don't own a car right now, who would rather not be one way or another bearing the cost of storing a car. What bothers me is that not this agency, but MTS, which owned a property in Rancho Bernardo that was an ideal location for reduced parking to accommodate those people on that list, not only required one-to-one parking, but also full replacement of excessive parking for the public as well. And so what bothers me is the different approaches to the parking and transit issue that are taken in different parts of the city. Even though the same policies apply across the board, developers utilize them in different ways, and the reduced parking projects are fairly limited to where those are being used. So I think it's an enormous benefit. I would like to see more of that occurring in other parts of the city, particularly when we are directly adjacent to a trolley stop. And I know a lot of projects are not, and so that's a reasonable concern for those that people are going to need cars if they're not close to transit. But any project that's right on transit, I'm really just not sure why we're building the amount of parking we're building when we have so many people who don't own a car. Or again, the worst scenario, they own a car but they don't have a home. So that's my comment on this. Thank you. This is a complex project. Is that fair to say in terms of the rehab, new construction, essentially all occurring in one? And as we were just talking about with Mariners Cove, it's always good to see the utilization of these sites increased. If we can accommodate more housing on a site, it's great to see more housing going in, even if the site already has a lot of housing and a lot of affordable housing. And so we all, I think, are focused on the tenant issues. And I think Joy asked the question. Your staff will be continuing to monitor how the relocation details work out. Is that correct? Yes, both of you. The two parties here, the Housing Commission and MAC, will stay in close contact.
Yes,
that's the relocation. Everybody wants to make sure that the residents are transitioned as smoothly as possible, but also that we get the net increase of 80 units. So, is there a second? I have a comment. Yes, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, so my only comment is, if I recall correctly, it's not so much as the private person parking their car. The issue in the area was the neighborhood with the industrial section. The pollution there was a big concern. And it wasn't really so much the people actually having a private vehicle. So what is going to be addressed in that issue? Because that was a big concern, I think a few years ago was brought up, about the port and the shipyards and the pollution they're putting out, and the neighbors were complaining. So is that being addressed? Or how are we going to address that? I'm all for the project, but I'm just saying that was a major concern, if I recall correctly, about maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Just to confirm, it's about the pollution that's being essentially emitted by the port, how we're addressing that issue? That's a question I get often. And like I mentioned, that's a challenge. How we tackle that issue, there are limitations to what we can do. We can reflect and adopt a design that could be forward-thinking within our APN, our parcel. What happens beyond that? That requires more intervention, and that's an extremely complicated issue. I'm all for having the back and forth and being able to tackle that together as a group. But that particular answer, I can't give you as to, oh, I have something that's going to directly address that and completely negate the emissions that are being driven by that particular agency. I don't have an answer for that one.
Has there been any plans for discussions on that?
Not yet, but I'm all for having that. And
I'm gonna jump in and throw you a bone here. I think we're all really concerned about that, but our authority is kind of, as you put it, like a parcel, and the city has had a years-long zoning. Which this plan was updated just a few years ago, right? And the new community plan that was adopted there reorganized the industrial and the residential zoning with this in mind, and was the plan that the community had been asking for many, many, many years. That the fact that a community plan is adopted, though, is just the start, because it will be years before the effects of those land use changes are accounted for. But that process, which took far longer than it needed to, that process was the venue for those air quality issues to be addressed, as well as Commissioner Cushman can speak to, as well as the regulatory issues that are in front of the port. The reason I'm not personally concerned about it today is not because I'm not concerned about the issue, but because we have to keep providing housing, and the reality as well is that this community has been an important place that has had naturally occurring affordable housing for 100 years. And so the increase of 55-year restricted housing in the community, this is one of the few communities where I think part of what is happening here is that we're continuing to provide what the community has always had. And this is not a question, we get a lot of questions on like the gentrification front and the change of the community character. There's people who have lived in Barrio Logan who may not be able to afford to live in Barrio Logan soon and are going to need deed restricted options. So as long as people are not only choosing to live in Barrio Logan, but view it and value it as their home, their community, their place, I think we kind of have to respect what they asked for in the zoning question and what they got in the zoning question. And if that land use planning process that was targeted at addressing the air quality allowed for this project to be approved, then we should follow through and provide the housing and trust that those parties and that process is going to chip away at the air quality issue in the coming years. Would that be a fair summary for everybody involved? Okay. And I just want to make sure too that everybody understands we're not unconcerned with the air quality, and we are also very concerned with the production of affordable housing.
So, Mr. Vice Chair, I am, as Tony is, we're supportive of the item. Because this is a public hearing, it's always appropriate to put things on the record, to keep everybody on their toes. I can say as a former port commissioner, a lot has changed, as you know, Oscar. You spoke about the new community plan, which set setbacks, moved industry away, all of those chrome people and the car smashers, all gone. Buffer zones have been created. More importantly, the port is going to 100% electric, and they are now pushing for those trucks to be electric trucks. So a lot is being done. I only brought it up, Tony only brings it up because it's a public hearing, has nothing to do with what Jennifer is bringing to us. But when you have a public forum, it's important to keep everybody's eyes open that we've got to continue to work on the air quality of that area. And I think we've done a good job of that. So with that in mind, I'd move the question.
Couldn't agree more, and thank you for bringing up the electric truck issue. And I think, another way to look at this, holistically too, is that when this project is completed, there will be several hundred residents there whose voices would be valued in the process as those questions move forward. And we've seen other places, the more residents we have in housing, the more support we get for those sorts of policies. And I mean, to your point too, the moment that the trucks that are transferring things from the port to other logistics areas switch to electric, a huge amount of these air quality issues would be resolved. And if we had the authority to mandate that, we might, but we don't, so. Are we all good? Do we have a second? We have a motion from Commissioner Cushman, a second from Commissioner Jackson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Item 105. The next item is 105, the loan recommendation preliminary bond authorization TEFRA hearing for 73rd Street Apartments. The TEFRA hearing is now open. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Vice President Jennifer Kreuter and Director Michelle Muniz will be presenting this item as well. Please begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Vice Chair Klumpner and Commissioners. The item before you today is a request to take the initial steps to issue up to $47 million in tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds, up to $15,900,000 in taxable bonds, hold a TEFRA hearing, and approve a $4 million residual receipts loan to facilitate the new construction of 73rd Street Apartments. 73rd Street Apartments is the proposed new construction of a 120-unit development, which is comprised of 119 affordable units and one unrestricted manager's unit. The project is located at 5001 73rd Street in the College Area neighborhood of San Diego in Council District 9. The proposed project's 119 affordable units will consist of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments. All restricted units will serve low-income households, including large families, with incomes between 30 to 50% of San Diego's area median income for a term of 55 years. This equates to income levels from $39,700 a year to $82,700 a year for 2 to 4-person households. The project is designed as a 5-story building with 4 levels of residential housing over 1 level of parking. Site amenities include an on-site laundry facility, bike storage, a tot lot, an outdoor courtyard, and a large community room with a computer lab, kitchen, and space for workshops, classes, community, and social events. As the proposed development is located on county-owned land, the limited partnership will be entering into a disposition and development agreement with the County of San Diego, which provides for a 99-year ground lease with prepaid rent of $1 per year. The developer, Eden Housing, is an experienced nonprofit developer which owns 12,930 affordable housing units in California spanning 50 cities. With respect to the proposed development, Eden Housing received a preliminary award for a Housing Commission residual receipts loan of up to $4 million and 30 federal project-based housing vouchers for the 73rd Street development through the fiscal year 2023 Notice of Funding Availability. The vouchers will be reserved for households experiencing homelessness with incomes up to 30% of San Diego's area median income. Services for all residents will be provided by Eden Housing at no cost. Services for the 30 voucher units will include supportive services such as case management, crisis counseling, benefits counseling, ongoing mental health care, peer support, and links to other mental and dental care. Additional services will be provided to all residents and will include social activities and celebrations, health and wellness classes, skill building, and financial education. This slide shows the site map of the development. The closest bus stop is within 1/10 of a mile from the property. The closest grocery store and school are both located less than 1 mile from the development. The total development cost of the project will be just under $92 million, which equates to a per-unit cost of approximately $767,000. Notable sources of funding include a bond finance permanent loan, City of San Diego Bridge to Home funds, a Housing Commission residual receipts loan, Federal Home Loan Bank Affordable Housing Program funds, State Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program funds, deferred developer fee, and federal tax credits. 73rd Street Apartments cost per unit is due to various factors including federal and state prevailing wages and rising costs for construction materials, labor, insurance, and financing interest. Emphasis on energy efficiency, infrastructure, and features also adds to the total development cost. Additionally, the ratio of large 2- and 3-bedroom units, along with the requirement to include site amenities such as play areas and community space to support family needs, increases the total development cost per unit. Units will be restricted at 30 to 50% of the area median income for 55 years. Rents will range from $930 to $2,068 per month. Should this be approved today, the developer will apply to SIDLAC and TCAC for a bond allocation and tax credits in September of this year. Should the developer receive an award, we anticipate bringing this item back for final bond approval in January 2026. The project will then be brought before the Housing Authority for approval in February 2026. The developer expects to close on construction financing and begin construction in March 2026 and complete construction in August 2027. Here's the architect's rendering of the proposed project. You are considering approvals to take the preliminary steps to issue up to $47 million in tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds and up to $15,900,000 in taxable bonds. Approval of the Bond Issuance and Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act resolution does not commit the Housing Authority to issue bonds. The bonds would not constitute a debt of the city. If bonds are ultimately issued for the project, the bonds will not financially obligate the city, the Housing Authority, or the Housing Commission because security for repayment of the bonds will be limited to specific private revenue sources of the project. Neither the full faith and credit nor taxing power of the city nor full faith and credit of the Housing Authority will be pledged to payment of the bonds. Staff recommends that the board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. This concludes the presentation. Jennifer and I, along with a representative from the developer, are available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We will begin with Chris.
Yeah, my name is Chris Arthur, and I'm with Eden Housing here in San Diego. I would just like to thank the commission and the staff at the commission for all their hard work in getting this project this far. We're really happy about this project. It's really going to fulfill a dire need in the college area, which is rapidly growing right now. This project is going to be designed by TCA Architecture as an all-electric building, so it's going to help with the climate goals of the region. We're going to have 30 units, as Jennifer, as staff said here, 30 units for supportive services for housing of unhoused households, and we are going to have there's going to be wraparound services, case management for those households. So. Yeah, we're thrilled to do this project and looking forward to the next step in getting this under construction. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Joy, on the last item, I think you said you were speaking to both, but I have a slip for you, so if you would like to speak to this one, you are welcome to.
Yes, I wasn't clear, but I will be speaking on each one. Okay, on 105 for the TEFRA hearing, yes to the loan recommendation and preliminary bond authorization for 73rd Street Apartments. So this is acquisition and new construction, 119 units. Yay, 30 to 50% AMI. Those figures just, they're so good. 55 years, 30 units, permanent supportive housing. $47 million for the bonds. Estimated total development cost, $91.9 million. I guess I put that there because $767,000 per unit. Am I happy? No. Too high. But, this is our world. I'm trying to get there, folks. I'm trying to be positive about that cost per unit. So Council District 9, Council member Elo Rivera will be happy. And we have a kind of a low percent there, only 11% on the total affordable housing units citywide. So on the strategic plan, this involves acquisition here. So I'm really looking forward to acquisition and the strategic plan for that being in the I don't know if I said that right, but I want that acquisition portion to be in the strategic plan. So thank you, love to all.
Thank you, Joy. The TEFRA hearing is now closed. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or do we have a motion? We have a motion from Commissioner Cushman, a second from Commissioner Hester. I'll just quickly add, this is a wonderful project. Thank you for spelling out the benefits that were included here, because I think when we're talking about the cost per unit, it's very important for us to kind of distinguish between costs where there's a real tangible benefit that's coming with it, and that's why it exists, versus costs that are a reflection of inflation or things that we should be better controlling. And so I think when we list out the benefits from the wages to local workers, the all-electric, very importantly, the family housing that's included here, the supportive services, there's no market rate project that would look anything like this in any way. And so it makes it easier, I think, for us to stomach, the world of high costs when we see that there's at least a serious benefit coming with these price tags. So all those in favor? All those opposed? The motion passes unanimously. We are on to our final item. This is item 106, the preliminary bond authorization TEFRA hearing for 4th and Penn. The TEFRA hearing is now open. We will take public comments after the staff presentation. Same team presenting. Please begin when you're ready.
The item before you today is a request to take the initial steps to issue up to $30 million in tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds and hold a TEFRA hearing to facilitate the new construction of 4th and Penn. 4th and Penn is a proposed transit-oriented affordable housing development that will consist of 53 affordable units, which are a mix of studios, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, plus 1 unrestricted manager's unit. The restricted units will remain affordable for a term of 55 years and will serve households earning between 30 to 50% of San Diego's area median income, which equates to incomes between $34,750 per year to $82,700 per year for 1 to 4-person households. Located in the Hillcrest neighborhood at 3703 4th Avenue and 412 to 414 Pennsylvania Avenue, the property is in the Uptown Community Plan area of San Diego in Council District 3. The 2 adjacent parcels are currently improved with 1 commercial structure with a dental office and 1 residential building consisting of 2 one-bedroom units. The residents will be provided relocation benefits, and the buildings will be demolished prior to the start of construction. Site amenities will include an on-site manager, a community room, a laundry room, an outdoor courtyard area, and bike storage. All residents will have access to community services and organized activities, including social events and celebrations, health and wellness, skill building, and financial education classes. The developer of the project is Rise Urban Partners, LLC, which is a joint venture between Trestle Development and Colossians 3 Heart. Trestle is an experienced developer that has successfully completed previous developments using the Housing Commission's Multifamily Housing Revenue Bond Program. The developer's principals have developed over 550 units of multifamily affordable housing in the past 10 years. Here is a site map of the development which shows the proximity to transit, grocery stores, and schools. The property is located within 1/10 of a mile of the closest bus stop and within a half mile of the closest grocery store and elementary school. The total development cost of the project will be just over $38.6 million, which equates to approximately $716,000 per unit. Notable sources of funding include a bond finance loan, 4% tax credits, a general partner loan, and deferred developer fee. No Housing Commission loan funds are proposed for this development. A central feature of the development's financing involves a partnership between Rise Urban Partners and a market-rate developer who will invest in the development. In exchange for the MGP loan funds noted in this slide, Rise will construct affordable housing units on behalf of the market-rate developer, thereby satisfying the City of San Diego's density bonus requirements. The development's cost per unit is primarily driven by the fact that the project will be situated on a relatively small lot, which requires additional infrastructure engineering. Rising construction and labor costs, high interest rates, and volatility in the insurance market are also factors. Additionally, fees for permits, utilities, and financing fees have increased significantly in recent months. Project units will be a mix of studios, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, and will be restricted to households with incomes between 30% to 50% of the area median income. Rents will range between $868 per month to $2,068 per month. Should this be approved today, the developer will apply to SIDLAC and TCAC for a bond allocation and tax credits by September 9th. Should the developer receive an award at the November 19th meeting, we anticipate bringing this item back to the board for final bond-related approvals in March 2026, and to the Housing Authority for approval in April 2026. The developer expects to close on construction financing and begin construction in May 2026 and complete construction in March 2028. Here's the architect's rendering of the project. You are considering approvals to take the preliminary steps to issue up to $30 million in tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bonds. Approval of the bond issuance and Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act resolution does not commit the Housing Authority to issue bonds. The bonds would not constitute a debt of the city. If bonds are ultimately issued for the project, the bonds will not financially obligate the city, the Housing Authority, or the Housing Commission because security for repayment of the bonds will be limited to specific private revenue sources of the project. Neither the full faith and credit nor taxing power of the city nor full faith and credit of the Housing Authority will be pledged to payment of the bonds. Staff recommends that the board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. This concludes the presentation. Jennifer and I, as well as a representative from the developer, are available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a speaker slip from Joy.
Joy Sunyata. This is District 3. I'll brag a little later. Okay, Tefra hearing. Yes to the preliminary bond authorization for 4th and Penn. $30 million in bonds, 53 units, 55 years. Great AMI, 30 to 50%. Cost per unit, $715,585. Am I happy? No. Too high. Yet, thank you for spelling out what causes that high cost per unit. I really appreciate that you continue to do that. It's needed for the public to hear that. It's more complicated than that, but thank you very much for that. So, this sounds like a really great place to live, doesn't it? And yay for District 3. We love density in District 3. And we're trying to get other people to love density. Why don't people love density? People are great. And it's exciting, and I don't get it. I've loved density for years. So this project, this total percentage per that district, 31% for District 3. That's why we have so much affordable housing units downtown and, in District 3, because we love density. So this is a great project. Thank you for today. And you do get a B+ for today, Vice Chair. I was always happy with a B+ in school. I always bragged about that. So anyway, love to all. I love all of you so much. We can't do it without being together, so love to all.
Well, I'm not that easily flattered, but Joy, thank you for the density commentary, and because of your praise of density, you are invited to come to our next board meeting. We love having you here. Do we have a motion or any questions or comments by commissioners? Motion. Commissioner Jackson moves. Commissioner Cushman seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The vote passes unanimously. Before we adjourn this meeting, there was an informational item that was an investment report. And I have a speaker slip here from Natalie, so I would like to give Natalie a chance to return to the podium to comment on that item for us or anything related to it.
Hi, Natalie Raschke. I work with lived experience advisors, and we are constantly trying to stay informed without all this noise from, Washington. And we've been doing research on AI and where that's going to lead us, and the advancement of AI and how quickly it's moving down the pipeline. In about 1 to 3 years, it's going to take away a lot of jobs. And that's something I have to think about with 4 children and how I proceed through their future and what jobs are going to be available to them. So have we thought about how that's going to affect people losing their jobs and more people that may become homeless? I know we need all these buildings. We need density. It's just, I don't think people are aware of what's coming down the road. In 1 to 3 years, it's moving quickly. And I think we're going to see we may see a lot more people becoming homeless. Leah does a lot of research, and we're really trying to help people be informed of what's coming. I don't like to worry about things, but we have all these buildings that are going up, but are we going to be able, people aren't even going to have jobs to pay their partial part of the rent. So I think it's great that people come in here and are working together to try to have solutions with what's going on. It can be scary, but I think if we keep, the doors open for people to speak and work together, I think that we can try to save, some people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalie. This concludes the board meeting today. The meeting is adjourned at 11:06. Thank you all very much.
I'm going to give you a suggestion to save money around here. We don't need to hang meat in this room. It's really cold.